Australia's own history of theatre is rich and lively, and on tonight's show, Lynn Talbot meets the man who's behind the revival of theatres in Melbourne, David Marriner, who, together with artisans and architects, has brought the majestic Regent Theatre back to life, and which will shortly be revealed in all its glory. But before we go for a sneak preview, let's take a look at what's on tonight's show.
Here at Melbourne's Regent Theatre, 3 years of restoration work is coming to a close. As the team of consultants and artisans lovingly apply the finishing touches, David Marriner closely supervises his ambitious project.
What about John's colours? Is he made decisions or not made decisions?
Work on it now. We're just going.
David Marriner's dream is soon to become reality. On the 26th of October, amid much glitz and glamour, the Regent Theatre will launch its season of the Really Useful Company's production of Sunset Boulevard. When the lights go up, this beautiful theatre will spring back to life after being shut for almost 30 years. It was labelled a dinosaur and was destined for demolition, saved only by building unions who placed a black ban on the site. And it's had rather a colourful history, hasn't it?
It certainly has. It commenced its life in 1929 as a grand picture palace. It suffered to the hands of a devastating fire in 1945, totally gutted and totally rebuilt. And we're embarking, after 26 years of neglect, to reinstate the building.
So in fact will be its third coming.
It certainly is in fact its third coming. Hopefully its lucky last coming.
David says it's taken the expertise of a cast of thousands, including architects, chippies, artisans and steelworkers, to bring about the rebirth of this elegant theatre.
It's cost something in excess of $35 million to bring it back, and 5 years of hell for me, or 5 long years of suffering. But I feel a sense of joy coming, not before time.
These are just some of the pipes of the third Wurlitzer organ to be installed at the Regent. The first one came to grief in the fire, the second was sold off when the Regent closed, and this one, bigger than ever, will bring back the heart and soul of the Regent. This is Julien Arnold's pride and joy. After sourcing it in the US, he had the task of transporting this 24-tonne instrument, restoring it and installing it in its new home. It's amazing that you've managed to squeeze all of this into such a small space.
Yes, well, it took a lot of doing. It took a lot of planning. I actually erected the organ at Mentone in the factory and knew to the last half inch where it was going. It's the only way you could do it.
It is, in fact, twice the size of the original.
Yes, it's well over twice the size of the original organ here.
With amazing different sizes.
Well, they go from the little ones here, even smaller than that, right up to the big ones that are on top of the ceiling here, and they're 32 feet long, weighing about half a tonne.
While most of the Wurlitzer's workings are tucked away behind the scenes, beneath the auditorium is another surprise package, the Plaza Ballroom. I think the existence of this room would come as a surprise to many people.
Yes, well, it's been closed for so long, 23 years.
And what was it originally?
It was designed as a ballroom dance space, but opened as a cinema.
The colours and the design and the busyness of this ceiling are quite extraordinary.
Very true. It really creates its own fashion statement, because you've got that classical line to the upper levels running into this rather Spanish, over-the-top sort of Mexican-influenced ceiling.
And what will this space be used for?
Very much a ballroom, a traditional entertainment space that will cater for that banquet, the wedding, that special occasion in one's life.
The Regent Theatre is a massive project to undertake, but David knew exactly what he was getting himself in for. 10 years ago, he began restoring this magnificent building, Melbourne's showcase, the Princess Theatre. It took 3 years to complete, but as you can see, the results are stunning. David, the Princess Theatre was considered one of the world's greats when it was first built in 1886.
It certainly was. William Pitt was also one of the great architects of that period, and we're very fortunate to have a stunning example of his work here in Melbourne.
When David bought the theatre in 1986, he pledged $20 million to restore it. One of the unexpected finds were these delightful murals on the ceiling of the dress circle foyer.
And sitting behind many layers of paint was in fact the murals that still existed in what was fairly good order.
So what we're seeing here are in fact the original murals?
Well, almost. In fact, they were quite naked in 1986.
Very risque.
It certainly was, bold and quite theatrical in one sense, but in 1920 they tended to seek some clothes, and they were in fact dressed for a potential royal visit at the time.
For a theatre that seats over 1,450 people, the Princess is very intimate.
Centre stage at the Princess Theatre.
Welcome.
No, it's very intimate. It's very. It's got this marvellous relationship between actor and audience and actor. So I think that's what makes the theatre very special.
I see, but deep within is art of life.
Beauty and the Beast recently finished its run here to clear the air for Peter Pan, which opens on the 25th of September. Since the theatre reopened in 1989, it's staged many blockbusters, including Les Mis, Cats, Scrooge, West Side Story, and Australia's longest-running production, The Phantom. It was the Princess who seduced this property developer from the Victorian town of Colac into becoming a devoted theatre restorer.
It had a personality and a sense of magic to it that actually warmed the cockles of my heart.
Done my time, wandered everywhere, round this world.
2 years ago, Marriner took the State Theatre under his wings and lifted it to heavenly heights. Currently on show in this cabaret-style theatre is The Piano Men. He also has great plans to return the Comedy Theatre to its former splendour as a playhouse. Meanwhile, all focus is on the Regent, as its reopening signifies yet another stage in the Marriner-driven revival of theatre in Melbourne.